Hello, this is Harry Paden. I'm the host of the Paden Perspective. This is Season 2, Episode 10. Today, I'm going to give some information based on my experience as a black man. Not just a black man in America, because I'm fortunate enough to have traveled around the world. I've got very fortunate in my life and have reached several continents and had several life-altering experiences because of that travel. And as a black man, the one thing that was always constant is that I couldn't hide my blackness. My pastor, the Honorable, esteemed Right Reverend Cornelius Wesley Martin, went to China. And when he went to China, he said it was okay. Relatively good experience, and he enjoyed all the great things that that country had to offer. Now, when I went to China, it was a little bit different. My pastor is a very fair-skinned, very handsome young man, but he's fair-skinned. I am of the darker persuasion. You can't, unless the lights are out. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh like that, but that was funny. Unless it's dark, you can't miss that I happen to be of a darker hue. So that means that whether I go to New Jersey, New York, South Carolina, Alabama, one of the first things you'll notice is that I am a black man. The second thing is probably my beautiful beard, but that's off the subject. So today, I'm going to give my opinion on 10 important things to tell your sons about being black men. And this is from a male perspective. And it's okay if you are a single mom, grandmom, grandpop, any of those titles. Again, this is Harry Paden. That's my Facebook name, Harry Richie Rich Paden Perspective. And one of the first things that's very important, and our young men, they really don't hear this enough, is that you come from greatness. America has painted this picture that we're some kind of way inferior, only good at sports, things that are totally negative. But those who know true history know that the black man has molded, shaped, not only this country of America, but the world. My second book, Now You Tell Me, History/Facts Not Taught in Most Schools, delineates, tells you about 30 plus of those facts. That's one source, but there are hundreds and hundreds of sources of information. So please, inform your young men and young ladies, but we're on men right now, boys, that we come from greatness. In Africa, we had kings and queens and ruling systems before any of the colonizing nations ever did. Many of those nations came and studied our ruling systems and followed and used those to dictate how they were going to establish their ruling systems. Do your homework, do your research. But the very first thing is educate If you don't know how to educate, get someone out there who can, some role model, some mentor. Nowadays we have Google. Google Black greatness. Google Black inventions. Google Blacks overcoming. And you should find a litany, a lot, that you can feed into your young. So don't wait till they're 18 years old and try to do it. What's that expression? It's harder to bend a tree after it's grown. You know, I'm messing that up, but you understand. Bend, mold that tree while it's still a sapling, while it's still a root, while it's in your belly, while it's at your foot. Most of my influence and greatest influence was from my mother. I had my father there, but my father, because there were a lot of us, you know, they had a lot of children. There were, you know, 11 of us. So there was a lot of mouths to feed. My father was a working man. So he wasn't there when I came home from school or Saturdays sometimes, or just general things like that. He was in my life. He lived in our house. But my greatest influence was my mother. And my mother taught me things back when I was a youngster that most men didn't allow their boys to learn. She taught me how to cook, clean, sew, do dishes, clean the house. Most men thought that was feminine, and you would some kind of way turn your boy into being a feminine person. Well, I dare say I am a manly man who just happens to love being a homosexual. Hope I said that right. I'm not. Oh, I missed that. I missaid that. I'm so sorry. But you can see when you're on camera, sometimes you make mistakes. Harry Paden is a heterosexual. That's my choice. And I'm sorry about the error. Anybody who runs with the other, you're an idiot. Because it was a mistake. Nothing wrong with whomever chooses their own sexual preference. But number one, you come from greatness. That's the first and very important tip to give to your young men. And number two, respect and protect the black woman. Now I know nowadays, due to the women's liberation movement, women are standing out on their own. We have a woman that's vice president, a heartbeat away from the presidency, the Honorable Kamala Harris, and they're very strong women. I'm very fortunate that my 4 daughters are very strong women. But regardless of that, the man's role throughout most of nature, there are some exceptions, is to protect the family, protect the one who actually produces the child. You don't want to go against a male lion because a male lion, they're just bigger and tougher. So as a male, even if you have an independent, strong woman, you protect her. You take care of her. You make sure she gets sleep if she needs sleep. You make sure you feed the baby. You make sure you cook. You do the laundry. Those are all forms of protection, not just the fisticuffs and all of that. Of course, that also comes into play. So protect the black woman, and doubly important, respect the black woman. Number 3, and this is very important, particularly for those young men who are raised by women. Just being male doesn't make you a man. There are certain things that you must, again, the protection of your family, the men today and they're not men. You know, they hide behind a gun. Too many of us are shooting because somebody disrespected me, did something wrong to me. And the first thing they'll do is get a gun. Guns, to me, are a sign of weakness. Very powerful, can do the job. It's almost like doing something on the internet or doing something behind your car. You have a layer of protection so you can't get up close and personal. If you fight, you'll be forgetting up. But I'm all up in your face. See these fists? And these rings here, they hurt. Huh. So that's up close and personal. A gun, I can get many yards away from you, shoot at you, and most of them don't know how to shoot, so they miss. So just being a male doesn't make you a man. Number 4, one of my favorite sayings, I've written columns with this name, knowledge is power. And that goes right along with number 1, you come from greatness. As a black man, you must learn and accept what I always say, you are not a minority. Stop using that word. Oh, the word makes me cringe. There's nothing minor about Harry Paden. I hear people use it. You're a minority. What? That's numbers wise. Use better terms. There's so many English language words that you can use. Develop as a man, as a boy. Parents, teach your children. Develop a global perspective. Don't just think of the United States. The United States is just a grain of sand, maybe a bucket. The United States is powerful. Never get that twisted. But the United States is not the only place. Back in the day when America would not treat black people well, many of the great people who were able to do it went to Canada, went to France. I've had the great fortune of traveling to Sweden. Those are very progressive countries when it comes to relating to people of color. So get a global perspective. America won't treat you right. Hey, get you a skill and go somewhere that will. France will welcome you. Sweden will welcome you. Denmark will welcome you. That's a global perspective. Don't give to somebody who doesn't give back to you. Now, America's been very good to me. I've worked since I was 12 years old. I raised 6 children. I now have 22, I guess, maybe more, because, my children are having children. But at least 22 grandchildren. And I think approaching now 10 great-grandchildren. Again, I see bellies and, I hear announcements. So, but that's great. That's a good thing. Moving along the family line. But let's be able to have a global perspective of what's going on. The United States is not the only place that you can make money, ply your trade, and be a productive citizen. If America is not doing you well, there's other countries. So get you a trade that's universal. Number 5, whatever you become, so important, whatever you become, you're black first. Again, like I said, from my perspective, I could never hide my blackness. If I got out here and painted myself pink, or did the, let's say Michael Jackson had vitiligo, where his skin turned light, people used to get on him and said he wanted to be white. Well, I don't know. I've never met him, so all I can do is tell you that if I were pink, I probably still couldn't pass for being a Caucasian because I have had such a black perspective in my life. So I retired as a supervisor of inspections, and I happened to be black. So I was black first before I was a supervisor of inspections. Number 6, again, something very important and something again that I listen to people. And again, because I do have a worldly, global perspective on life, I know racism is not going anywhere. People thought that when President Obama was elected, oh, hallelujah, the world is changing. Oh, great. Man, that made the racists clamp down even harder. So much so that 8 years after President Obama got elected, they elected that other guy. They elected him. I didn't vote for him, but they elected him. And you see what his 4 years did towards racial harmony. So racism is not going anywhere. So you got to deal with racism head on. The best revenge is living well. I don't care what some people think of me. I don't. Because they're not feeding me, they're not taking care of me, they're not putting my children through college. They didn't, because my kids are all out of college now. They're not putting my grandchildren through college, and I have grandchildren going to college. Generations of education. So in spite of America and her racism, life has been good to me. Don't get in the habit of thinking that everything is racial against you. Many things are. Don't get that twisted. But if someone doesn't want to touch you when they're giving you change, might not be because they're racist. Might not be because they don't want to touch you because you're black. That they might have whatever you call it, that guy, the funny guy, Howie Mandel, doesn't like to touch people. If it's racism, it's racism. Okay, you want to touch me? Man, you could have got a positive vibe by touching me, but you didn't want to touch me, so no positive vibe for you. Give me my change and let me get out of here. And remember this address, because I'm not coming back in here again if I feel it's racism. Racism isn't going anywhere. Number 7, always project and carry yourself with dignity. Thank you, Naomi Paden, because that was one of the prime lessons that she taught me, is that you represent me and your family when you go out there. And back in the day, parents, neighbors, friends, enemies would tell your parent, if they, Miss Paden, I saw Harry out there, and he's with some boys. I know you. They would tell on you. Nowadays, our parents and relatives are scared. They engage others because I know it's kind of crazy. I can't say what to do. Well, not me. I'm up in people's faces. You know, sometimes you'll see people. They'll have their kids, and they'll run. Oh, hold it. You see me coming by, you gotta stop running and let me go by, okay, son? Okay, young lady? And I do it right in front of the parents. I do it respectfully. But if the parents not gonna do it, I'm an elder. It's a lot easier now than when I was young. Use words like son, young lady. And most of the time, they give it up, respect. My daughters will tell you, don't let me go to a game or something and somebody sit around curse. Whoa, hold it. My ears are very sensitive. You can't curse around me. Have some respect for me. So, always project and carry yourself with dignity. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want no woman that's all like, yeah. Man, sorry. Number 8, again, I can't say which ones are more important than others because this is so important. Be fathers to your children. Be fathers to your children. Be fathers to your children. I don't care what is going on between you and that expression baby mamas or all that kind of stuff. You be a father to your child. There are court systems that if for some reason your significant other doesn't allow you, you use the court system. I was very fortunate. I was a single dad before there was thought of, I didn't know that I would become a single dad. 2 times in my life, 3 of my daughters, My daughter Shahara and my daughter Miranda, I raised them. Thank God for my sisters, my dad, and the village. They helped me in raising my children without a woman present. Because my daughters had this long hair, and to this day, I still can't do hair. But the village helped me. So be fathers to your children. And the second time was when two of my daughters, Shahara again and Angela, were in high school. And I was a single dad, again, later on in life. And again, I had a much more of a grip on it. So be fathers. One thing I can say is that I was a father to not only my children, but to any child that, needs a father figure. Number 9, very important. The world and society owes you nothing. 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 You got to get out, you got to get educated, and you got to get out there and make something of yourself. I was able to work on my life because I taught myself into situations. I'll sit down and say, yes, you should hire me, Harry Paden. I can do the job better than anybody that you have here, anybody that you'll hire. You hire me, I'll come to work on time, I'll be dependable, and I'll be the person that you go to when somebody else mess up. And you know what? It is very easy for me to get jobs. I've never had 2 bouts of unemployment, and those were for maybe a month. So I can get a job today if I wanted to, but I'm retired. So the world and society owes you nothing. Get out there, prepare yourself, make yourself into whatever you can be. Again, we've had a person of color as president, the highest office, not just in the United States, but in the world, most powerful office, and vice president, Kamala Harris. So there's no excuse. They didn't just happen into the job. They didn't just fall into the job. It wasn't because of political, people get a job just because they know somebody. They worked hard to get them jobs, and society owes you nothing. And the last and final one goes right along with that. No one is successful by accident. I don't always agree with that because there always is an exception. Some people, it might have just been successful. Let's say, whatever reason, I'm doing something as a scientist and I discover something that's going to save the world from cancer, but I did it by accident. You can become successful for that, so you can become successful by accident, but it's not as likely as if you prepare yourself. You want to be a doctor, go to schools, prepare yourself, educate yourself, put in the time. Michael Jordan, as great as he was and as much ability, they talk about. He was the first to the gym and the last to leave. LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, just using basketball as a metaphor. They put in the time and the greatness was, the result. So whatever your profession, if you're a garbage sweeper, have you ever lived when the garbage people went on strike? It's a very important position. So whatever you are, do the best you can and, elevate yourself. Don't think small. Think big. Those are some of my tips. I do have another book. I haven't put this book up for a while, and I don't try to promote my books, but it just sometimes, the information is in the book, so I have to use it because it's my book, and I'm not ashamed to use it. Now, in my book, there is a chapter. This is my first book, and I love this book. It's a parental guide, and it's called A Living Testimony. How to Raise America's Nightmare Educated Children of Color by yours truly, Harry Paden. And I love this book because I just love this book. But now I have a chapter in this book called Raising Boys into Men. And I'm not going to give you all the details. You have to get the book. But there are certain things that I've pointed out, and I want to also just let you know is that As a parent, you have to take raising your black man into your own hands. Don't depend on America, because America, especially in the education, it says around the fourth grade, you'll start to label your children, oh, they moving around too much, got too much energy. Got too much energy, Mr. Teacher, Miss Teacher. But you find a way to bottle that energy. And they want to put them in special ed, put them on certain things, and there are people who should be. You know, there are diagnoses, but that's a doctor, not necessarily a teacher that should be making these diagnoses. So teach your black men, black boys, what it is. For you women out there, surround them with positive role models. They don't all have to be black. Some of my greatest role models were white or other colors. I had many black role models, but my mother made sure coaches and Boy Scout leaders and, you know, so many other people. I went to church, you know, the leaders of the church. They took me and helped mold me into a positive black man. So please take your time, society. Let's nurture our black men. Without black men, we are, as a race, going to become extinct. Unless you're going to go the Kerry Washington and that president thing, you know, and happen to, you know, she had a person of a different color for her husband. So in that sense, you won't become extinct. But I'm talking about the black race. As a race, you need black men and black women. You need them. So let's nurture ourselves. Men be men, women be women, and let's get out here. It's a great society. I love life. Life has been good to me. America has been good to me. But I utilized the tips that I gave, and to God be the glory. I hope that I didn't ramble. It's a subject that I could talk about for hours, and I tried to condense it. Again, to God be the glory.